a derecho will be possible tonight and through much of the day tomorrow for portions of South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and maybe even as far east as Indiana. A long track complex continues to look likely tonight and through much of the day tomorrow. We will also have a round of severe weather for portions of the risk area this afternoon and evening time frame with an increased risk of tornado potential into northern Illinois and portions of Indiana. We will dive deep into the timing of the possible derecho, possible outcomes, possible tracks, because model guidance does struggle on the exact placement of these complexes of thunderstorms and how severe they may get. This is a classic setup all around this time of the year to get a long-lived MCS or derecho to happen, which is pretty much the same exact thing as long as the derecho, reaches 40 miles an hour or greater of at least severe wind gusts, which is only about 58 miles an hour or greater. Then you also need a certain width or certain height, you can say, in the line of thunderstorms. It looks like we may reach that criteria pretty easily as long as this complex can mature and organize early on late tonight. Now, taking a look at this evening, first, at the first round of thunderstorms, we will likely have some thunderstorms develop along the gradient, maybe an outflow boundary, but at least along the gradient of instability, storm fuel, and moisture this evening. Likely staying into northern Illinois, into portions of Indiana, kind of like what happened yesterday. As we get to about 6 or so, 6, 7 this evening or so, we do have some thunderstorms developing pretty rapidly up into northern Illinois at this time. As we move further into this evening, we likely to see an expansion in the coverage of thunderstorms into southeast Wisconsin and as far east as into northern Indiana as well. This will pose a risk for tornado potential on any supercell that can mature, obviously, but also latch onto the boundary that will be in place into northern Illinois and into northern Indiana as well. As we move further into the evening, overnight tonight, we will likely continue to have a threat of severe weather for portions of Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, southwest Michigan, and into northern Indiana as well. And maybe a chance for some thunderstorms into Nebraska tonight, but that is not the main thing that we are going to be looking at for the complex of thunderstorms. But this is at about midnight or so tonight, and we still don't see this complex developing yet. There will be a pretty big cap in place for the west, so we will be waiting on a shortwave trough to arrive into South Dakota tonight, late tonight, and that will allow thunderstorms likely start as supercells to develop into South Dakota and push southeast rapidly late tonight and through much of the day tomorrow. Now, this is a look at about 1 or so in the morning. We see thunderstorms rapidly develop as that shortwave trough begins to push into eastern South Dakota. This is the cluster of thunderstorms that are developing. Now, it could be a little bit further north or a little bit further south. The model guidance does struggle to show the exact placement of these complexes of thunderstorms, like I've said several times in the past. So this may not be what will actually happen, but it is a pretty good idea of what could happen for overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. Now, by about 4 a.m. in the morning, this complex will continue to organize, likely producing damaging wind gusts by this time, maybe for Sioux Falls area, but if not, at least for portions of, between Sioux City at about 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning, between Sioux City and about Clear Lake, South Dakota or so. That is where we'll likely have that complex be around that time frame. As you push into about 6 or 7 in the morning or so, so after sunrise in the morning, we'll likely have this complex likely close to the I-35 corridor by this time. It could be further west or further east. Again, model guidance will struggle also on the timing of these complexes, which makes it really hard to forecast these things. By this time, we're likely continuing to have a threat of damaging wind gusts, and it could be intense by this time. It depends how fast this complex can really organize and expand into northern Iowa at this time. Now, this will continue to rapidly move southeast. This is about 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. We continue to see an organized complex not pushing into northeast Iowa. So about 8 to 10 in the morning, you should see this complex in the northeast Iowa, maybe as far south as the Rapids areas or maybe Davenport. Just depends the exact track. Or could be as far north as La Crosse as well, or Rochester, Minnesota as well. So between them areas, we'll likely have this complex by then. And now, as we move to about 11 a.m. or so, so about late morning tomorrow morning, this complex will continue to rapidly move southeast into southern Illinois and to northern, well, southern Wisconsin and into northern Illinois at this time period, likely producing intense damaging wind gusts at this time. It looks like the complex will likely be fully matured tomorrow morning and into early to mid afternoon hours of tomorrow as well. So it seems that tonight we likely see it gradually develop and organize, but then by the time tomorrow morning afternoon comes around, we likely have a fully matured complex pushing through southeast to multiple states. Now, as we get to early afternoon tomorrow, this will show the complex pushing through the Chicago area in southeast Wisconsin at this time, and then it continues to push into early afternoon. It continues to push east into southwest Michigan and into northern Indiana as well. Finally, as we get to about 4 or so p.m., you still have an organized complex pushing southeast through Indiana and maybe as far west as Illinois, but those could be separate supercells developing along the western portions of the outflow boundary. That'll be with this complex. Now, as we get to about 6 or 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, now this complex will likely continue to push southeast now into portions of Indiana, as far as southeast as Kentucky even, and into West Virginia and them areas. And then finally, by the time we get to tomorrow night, it may begin to weaken as it starts to push southeast of the main area of greatest of the most favorable air mass that will be in place. So again, a very long-lived, intense complex of thunderstorms will be possible tonight through much of the day tomorrow and into tomorrow evening, as long as this complex can be fully matured. Now, there's always more than one possible solution with these events, these complexes of thunderstorms. So I'm going to show a different model, another high-resolution model for tonight. Now, I do think the HPLR has a better solution than this model. I do think we will get an organized complex to happen that will probably reach the criteria for Derecho. But anyways, this does have a complex developing a similar time frame, if not slightly earlier, into a very similar place. However, it does have a lot of convection ongoing further east into Illinois at this time along the gradient, and trying to get some thunderstorms to develop along the gradient into northern Illinois, northern Iowa, into southwest Minnesota as well at this time. That is highly unlikely to happen. I don't think there will be that much thunderstorms around ahead of this complex to happen. But if there is, somehow that this does happen, it will allow for this complex to pretty much shred away. It will still produce damaging wind gusts in some areas, but not a long-lived Derecho like what is a possible solution here, because this model has these thunderstorms pushing northwest instead and trying to get and then having it in the complex happening. So again, this has a really weird solution that likely won't happen. But again, it's always a possible scenario, because if that does happen, you likely won't get a complex, a long-lived Derecho to happen. But again, I do think the other solution is a lot more reasonable at this time. Now, I always say these complexes always will thrive off of a gradient of storm fuel and moisture. And again, for tonight and possibly again tomorrow night, which we'll dive a little bit into at the end of this video, but I try not to make the videos too long because I know the attention span isn't very long for you guys. But this is a look at about midnight or so tomorrow night, tonight, or early in the morning hours, we see, even well into overnight hours, we see very high storm fuel in place. Even for August standards, you still have 4,000 joules of storm fuel in place ahead of this. And again, at this time, you see this complex developing in this area along the edge of the gradient. This will thrive and ride on the edge of the gradient tonight, so we will know a lot more about the exact placement this evening hours, when we know the exact placement of the gradient. It will be set by about sunset tonight or so, because this will continue to push north throughout today. Right now it's further south, but it does have it gradually pushing north this evening into the overnight hours. Now, if this does stall further south, this would put further south areas in the crosshairs of this complex. So again, the exact placement of the gradient, the boundary is very key to the exact placement of this complex. But again, as this complex pushes southeast, it will be fueled by still very high storm fuel in place by sunrise tomorrow morning through Iowa and into Illinois. So this would allow the complex to continue to thrive. And not just that, looking at a standpoint of wind shear in the upper air, the upper air pattern as well, it is a very favorable pattern, upper air pattern, with that shortwave trough coming in and the amount of wind shear in place for this complex to happen and be long lived. So again, I have really high confidence in this taking place through eastern South Dakota, southwest Minnesota, portions of Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, and into Indiana and Michigan as well, and maybe further southeast outside the coverage area. So if that would happen, that is about I looked it up. It's about 700, 800 miles length. That would be easily, that'd be double the criteria for a derecho. So just keep that in mind. That is why I'm throwing that word out there. But again, just because I say a derecho, that does not mean we will have a derecho the size or severity of the one in 2020. That's very unlikely. That is a derecho that is really in history. It's very unlikely you get a derecho to that extent. You can get a derecho with only 70 mile an hour wind gusts as well. So you don't need them powerful Cat 3 hurricane wind gusts. Now in this case, being that it may get fully matured in a very favorable environment, it's very possible we do get wind gusts up to 90 to 100 mile an hour wind gusts. It's possible in isolated corridors early tomorrow morning and into the afternoon hours of tomorrow. It's very possible portions of Iowa into southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and into northern Indiana may reach that threshold of very intense wind gusts. Again, straight line wind gusts of 80 plus mile an hour. There will be a chance to get a tornado or two to happen along the edge of it. There's always a chance to get a minute tornado or two on the edge of the squall line. But again, the main thing here is going to be the damaging wind threat. I mean, that's really the main possible scenario right now. The only way this might not fully happen is because of capping or dry air aloft from elevated water flow smoke. But even then, I do think that we are in store for a pretty long-lived complex to happen. And again, tomorrow night we will have another gradient setting up with pretty extreme storm fear in place. This is tomorrow night, draped across Iowa and into northern Illinois. If we get another complex to develop on the edge of these gradients, this will ride southeast again through very similar areas as what may happen tonight. This is a look at possible solution on what this model does show. Again, this will change a lot, but this does have another complex pushing through very similar areas. Again, tomorrow night and into Wednesday. So a very active couple days ahead with a chance for quite a bit of damage from complexes. So make sure you stay tuned for more updates here on YouTube, on my Facebook, and X. They're all Midwest weather on all my social media platforms.